Finally, let's talk about price controls and efficiency. So we learned about, I guess, like two kinds of price controls. Like price gouging is kind of just like a price ceiling, in a particular, like a temporary price ceiling when there's an emergency. So let's concentrate on price floors and price ceilings. So let's think about a price floor. So remember, that's the minimum that can be charged for good or service. And we can draw another one to talk about, another plane, Cartesian plane here, to talk about price ceilings. Remember, those are the highest the prices can go, so it's putting like a maximum price in the market. And so remember that this is only going to matter when they're binding. So we're going to concentrate on binding price floors and binding price ceilings. So here's our supply curve. Here's our demand curve. All these competitive market assumptions hold. We get this allocatively efficient quantity here that maximizes total surplus because it maximizes this area here, this big triangle here. I'll just draw the same thing over here. Quantity, price, again, assuming that competitive market assumptions hold, we get this nice efficient amount. And so remember, price floor was like the minimum price could be, and it was binding if this price floor was above the equilibrium price, the price that's been traded on the market. So remember, that produced this excess supply. Since QS is greater than QD, this is the quantity demanded at that price floor, this is the quantity supplied. And the amount that got exchanged in this market went down. So right away we know there's going to be an inefficiency here. So, I mean, we can think of producer and consumer surplus graphically again. The price is up here though now, so below the demand curve, above the price is the consumer surplus there. Below the price, above the supply is going to be the producer surplus. Notice I'm stopping at this purple line because we can only get surplus on the amount of units we sell or buy, right? That it's actually exchanged on the market. So these two areas together are total surplus, which means that this rectangle here is this deadweight loss. And so we see with price binding price floors, we have this deadweight loss. And again, we're just using that idea that consumer surplus is the area above the price, below the demand curve. The price now is this PFL for price floor, and producer surplus below the price, above the supply curve, but only up until how many units we sell. And so when we compare this total surplus in the competitive market with no government intervention compared to this price floor, this binding price floor, we're losing this much efficiency. We're going to call that deadweight loss. Okay, so now we can do the same analysis for price ceilings. Remember, that's like the maximum you can charge for something. And that price ceiling is going to be binding if the price is below the current equilibrium price, right? And here, you know, this is probably meant to like ease the burden on consumers and things like that, but it ends up creating this shortage because at this PC, the quantity demanded is way out here, but the quantity supplied is here, so this shortage, right? This is when we have these lineups and the possibility of discrimination and things like that. And again, the quantity is going down. So this is the new quantity exchanged on the market. So I'm going to draw a little dotted line up here because we're going to need these areas. And again, consumer surplus below the demand curve, above the price. Well, this is the price. So this is the consumer surplus. Hopefully that comes through. Let's imagine that goes up there. But again, we only get it to how many units we sell. So we can't include anything over here. I think you probably already kind of know what this area is going to be, but we can't include anything to the right of this Q star star. because this is how much gets exchanged on the market, and you can only get surplus from things you actually exchange. And then we can think about, again, producer surplus below the supply, below the price above the supply curve is this area. Again, we're missing this, the difference between what efficiency we had in competitive markets with no government intervention compared to this binding price ceiling is this triangle. This is the deadweight loss. So this is this loss of efficiency for the government kind of entering the market and pushing us away from this allocatively efficient quantity exchanged. All right, so this is what efficiency looks like in price control markets.